Ellie Murphy, my guest for the evening. You know exactly where you can find her, at Ellie Murphy. Links to all of her social media are in the episode description below. Please make sure you support the content creators that come on the show. Otherwise, they don't come on anymore. Ellie, it's a pleasure to have you on tonight.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So you are a very special case. When I originally started the show with my co-host, we had two intentions. I want to interview the biggest names in porn, and I want to interview the girls who are not the biggest names in porn, who will become the biggest names in porn. And through that process, we started going deeper, and we started Brand New Faces. Now, we brought you on early for Brand New Faces, and it was amazing because we talk to performers like you, and some of them stay a year, some of them stay 6 months, some of them decide they don't really want to do this and, decide it's not for them. Years later, 4 or 5 years later, however many it is, here you are. You have worked with some of the biggest performers in the industry. You have worked on some of the biggest sites in the industry. You are an example of someone who went from a brand new face for me up to an actual mainstream performer. And I know it sounds weird as I've met you and talked to you one time in the past, but I want to say you had the professionalism in you back then, and it has only shown how strong it was that you've gotten to this point. So I just want to congratulate you on that and say you've done a great job with your career up to this point, and I think you're awesome.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate that.
Sure. First question, and this is corny, but I always start out my interviews with the Going Deeper girls with this. From what you do the entire day, what do you consider your job title to be? If you were to put on a resume, the adult industry goes away. Now you got to put this on your resume. What was your job in this industry?
I don't know that I could put one specific title on it. Broadly speaking, I would say adult performer, or performer creator, tends to be kind of where I lean with it. Partially because for me, I don't know, it's always been one of those things where, like, just because I do porn, I know that, like, makes me a star, but I feel like I'm still just an actress, not, like, because I'm not, like, at the top with, like, the top models that have been there. I kind of see it a little differently. I see myself kind of on the same plane as, like, everybody else, so I just consider us all performers. And since that encompasses, it can also encompass not just the mainstream side of things, but the content creation, the camming, all of that. It's all performing in some aspect. And so I would say probably just adult performer or
Sure.
adult actress, just all encompassing.
What's so interesting about that too is that doesn't account for any of the social media work you have to do, like the outside perspective, right? The outside,
That's because I don't social media well. Marketing is not my category. Has never been. I still struggle.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. So you'd be even bigger if you gave a shit about that, I think.
If I had a marketing team, probably.
Gotcha.
I know that's honestly probably the only way I'm going to be able to actually handle all the social media aspects in the way that I really need to be able to.
Okay.
Because there are so many of them, and keeping track of everything is really difficult with everything else that goes on. And so, like, if I was able to do that better, yeah, I'd probably be a lot more
known,
I guess.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the word.
Right.
But it also just depends, like, where you take it to. Like, this year has been very interesting for everybody, and so it's like if you're doing mainstream mostly, and then, like, you're doing OnlyFans on the side or vice versa, that's a little different than, like, if you're juggling that and, like, the camming aspect of things, because you can put plugs in certain places that you can't in others, kind of like with here.
Sure. Okay. All right. That makes sense. So just to recount a little bit, for the audience, if they haven't listened to the Brand New Faces episode, How did you initially decide to make that step into the adult entertainment industry? Did you have like vanilla stuff before this and you just decided like, fuck it, this is who I am, I'm going to do this? Or was it always your intention, like, let me jump into this as soon as I'm comfortable doing it?
So I actually never saw myself getting into this industry. If you had asked me like when I graduated high school, if I ever saw myself here, I would have said absolutely not. I was on a completely different path, and that got not just derailed, but kind of exploded. It kind of became a path that I could no longer attain in any fashion that would have like been reasonable timing wise.
Okay.
And so I had to do something different. And by that point I had started camming. And so since I was already camming, after I was later doxxed, and that was basically at the point I'd been considering doing mainstream. But at the point that happened, I was just like, fuck it. Everybody already knows. The whole thing's already been exploded. Worst has already passed. Let's do this.
Okay. Was and just no personal stuff, no names. I totally get that too. Was that a personal doxing? Was that from a fan? Was that like, how did that come about? Again, you don't have to give any personal information. Just in that aspect, I wonder, I asked that because I wonder, like, if it was a fan that did that in some way, did that maybe push you away from it a little bit, like, or if it was a personal thing, then maybe that pushes you towards it, you know?
So the pushing towards it was just the fact that it was already out there. Everyone, like, a lot of people's biggest fear, if their family, friends, community, anybody that they knew before getting into porn didn't know or doesn't know what they're doing, is them finding out and it coming to a head unexpectedly. Like a random person from high school, like hitting you up, that kind of thing. Or family, extended family, whatever. So in that aspect, because all of that had already been taken care of for me, I was like, okay, let's do this. I don't have to worry about any of that now hitting me from left field. And so that kind of pushed it towards, in some aspects, yeah, the whole event of being doxxed did kind of make things difficult for a time, but it was a person I knew who did it. And so that made it a little easier in the fact of, at least so right. It's not an unknown out there. But it was also my fans that kept me going, because if it weren't for the people that I had in my room when that happened, and the people that had stuck with me through everything up until that point and through that, I don't know that I would have had the strength to actually make that jump and keep going with what I was doing and not just give up after that, because that's a lot of mental and emotional stress to deal with when your entire world implodes. Sure.
Can I ask you about the ebbs and flows of this industry? You came in, you still are a beautiful young looking girl, red hair, like you mark a lot of the things where, I want to get you on my website if I'm a producer. How did that go when you finally started doing mainstream stuff? Was it a bunch of offers at once? Did they eventually kind of slow down a little bit, or has it been consistent through? Only because I applying it to camming as well, when they really promote you at the beginning there, I've heard girls go, you get 5,000 people in your room or 8,000 people in your room. And then a couple months later, you have 15, 16, 20 people. So in terms of shooting mainstream stuff, and then I'd like to ask about the same thing with the chat as well, or the camming as well. What is the ebb and flow of it? Did you get a big burst at the beginning, and did you think like, this is it? I've made it. I am good.
So it's different for everybody. I'll start with that. Every person's experience, especially when they start, is completely different. I also start with that to say, I would say my kind of start and story to this industry has never been the standard by any means. A lot of, for me, I still haven't done the new girl circuit. Like, I haven't shot for all the companies yet. I had a really hard time actually finding an agency that would take me at first. Yep. And there were a few different reasons for that. one of them being, at the time, my skin was still really bad from being sick. And so I had to actually wait a little bit longer than I had when I originally tried to get in the industry, just to get my skin to clear up and my body to just be back at a healthier state.
Sure.
Visibly. And so with that kind of delayed things a little. And by that point, COVID had ended. All the girls were starting to that were coming in at that time that I was also trying to get, were starting to become bigger. There was a lot more OnlyFans girls starting to come in. So that was starting to make things harder, because now everything has shifted towards social media numbers, which is where they're really headed now. And so I had trouble kind of finding an agency at first that was willing to represent me. And then I've struggled to have consistent representation or being presented to companies consistently. And I don't know exactly what the reason for that is. So the majority of the shoots that I have actually done have been in some form self-booked, or from them reaching out to me, or connections that I've made. I'll get a shoot for another company because some producer's like, hey, you should shoot this person. And so it's been more that side of things than like getting bookings through an agency. Like, I feel like a lot of the girls, when they start and then get with an agency, they're like, oh, here's this shoot, this shoot, this shoot, this shoot. And like, you kind of do the circuit and then it slows down. And it's been pretty steady. The first, I would say consistently, probably until this last year, I averaged at least one shoot a month. Okay. Maybe not actually one every month. Maybe it'd be like 3 one month and none the next, but about 1 to 2 shoots a month until this last year. And then it's been kind of down for everybody this last year. Okay. Just with all the adult verification stuff going on, it has made the beginning half of the year really difficult for the websites to do shooting and deal with that, because that was a huge thing that everybody had to stop what they were doing, deal with all the age verification, and then kind of get back to work. And so shoots have been down a lot for everybody during that part of the year. And so that's been more of a camming focused part for me. Gotcha. And to lead into that side of the question. Sure. And with camming, yes, you get, depending on where you are, you get a promo period that is either a week, a month, whatever it is. You get a tag, you're put in the new person spots, and you do typically get a lot of followers during that time. Sometimes you keep that momentum and you'll be consistently having that many people in your room and getting that many followers. But a lot of times what happens is when you lose that new tag, you get put on the page with everybody else. Gotcha. When you get put on that page with everybody else, depending on the way that the site does sorting, you could get lost in the back pages because you aren't the top number of followers or the most active people in the room or the model that's preferred by whoever's running the site at the time. So it really depends on where you end up. I was very fortunate for a long time to end up on the site I started on. I was on the main page a lot until I had a issue during COVID where my ID expired and I couldn't get it renewed. So they tried to shadow ban me because you're no longer 18, because that's how that works.
That's how that works, yeah.
And so I almost couldn't get a house key from Walmart because I couldn't prove that I was 18 because my ID was expired by like 3 months.
I just had to get a new ID. How fucking crazy is that places won't accept it when it's expired? It doesn't change my birth date. Like, what are we doing here? What is this? I'm sorry.
I think they take it the same as like a fake ID. But during COVID, there's nothing you could do because you literally couldn't go to the DMV.
Yeah.
So that made things difficult there. Eventually, I didn't realize this, but shortly after we had talked last time, I had taken a break from camming for the most part because of shoots. I didn't realize when I went back to start camming like regularly, I had been off the sites for about 1.5 years.
Wow.
And so I had done a show here and there, but I hadn't really been on in 1.5 years, which was crazy to think that it had been that long already. But I went back to camming more. I've switched platforms now. Okay. And on that platform, since I started, I have consistently been on the first page. I consistently have people in my room. I haven't really had the struggles that a lot of girls talk about where, oh, I haven't had anybody in my room. I've made $5 in 4 hours. And like, I've been very fortunate to not have those struggles. And even my slow days, for the most part, I would still consider decent.
Okay.
And so I do also contribute that a lot to a couple of my fans that I have. And they'll just come and they'll chat with me and hang out with me and like keep it so people are a little more willing to come in. Because if I'm just sitting there staring at a wall, nobody wants to just like come look at a person that looks bored. And so if you look like you're having fun and you're interacting, it makes a big difference. And I think that's kind of a thing with all of it is if you are enjoying what you're doing, then the fans are going to enjoy it more.
Sure.
And
they can see your yeah. You covered a ton there. Let me go back. No, please. I love it when performers talk. Don't one word me. Do me that favor. What you said there about jumping back even further, and then I want to talk a lot about the cam stuff, but what you said about how everything's moving to followers and numbers and this and that. I'm going to use the rating system for women, and I'm sorry it's misogynistic, but I'm going to do it. Do you think a woman who is a 10 in looks but has 10,000 followers, or a woman who is a 6 in looks and has 1 million followers, the million, what you're telling me is that girl's going to get booked 10 times out of 10 over the other one? Is that? Yeah. Okay. So it's just they're looking for you guys to do the promotion side. Bummer.
Unless like the other person fits their brand to a T,
sure,
then they're going to get picked over. But 9 times out of 10, it comes to follower count. If you don't have a certain number of followers on social media, you're going to get passed over. Especially if you're trying to like book things yourself. There's even performers that if you don't have a certain number of followers, you can't collab. Sure. Because it's seen as kind of you're using, which I do get because it's you're using them to get up kind of situation, which for certain people, that is definitely a risk that you have to be aware of because you don't want to collab with people who are really shitty at doing their job.
Sure.
And then you end up with like bad content, but they end up with good content simply because of the name of the person in there that they worked with. And so like you can't use it for your brand, but they're going to post it anyway. And then it boosts them up and you're like, okay, I can't, like, I can see that being a problem.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you try and like, you want to work your way up the ladder without trying to jump to the top. So just going straight for like, I want to work with this person, because they're at the very top. They're the biggest names in the industry. It's like, you want to start with people kind of on your level and people that are a little higher and work your way up to that point instead of just jumping in and like, hey, you don't know me. I'm brand new, but I want to work with you. Like that kind of, I feel like would come across as more like an overeager fan thing.
Sure. Okay.
But that could also just be my perspective.
Well, so let me ask you, how much of a workup was it until you were able to work with a superstar like Lauren Phillips? Because I totally believe you worked all the smaller sites and built it up. But I went on Twitter one day and I go, this girl I interviewed like a few years ago is working with one of the biggest stars in the industry right here. She must have done something to get there. So what was that build up like?
Actually, that was pure luck. That was one of the craziest things because I'm talking more like content, like self-booking stuff with other creators for your things. That one I did kind of luck into because a lot of times there are studios that will book new girls with experienced girls or experienced performers, and it doesn't really matter. In this case, when I worked with Lauren for the first time, I was nervous as hell because I was getting to work with Lauren, which was huge. It was my first scene for girlfriend films, which was huge. And it was my first girl thing, like ever, like actual girl thing that went any further than just like touching or kissing, which was also huge. So it was like a bunch of huge starts for me that day. And like, it was definitely kind of a overwhelming thing, but all in good ways. And so like that was the start of kind of a cool relationship with that company because my first 2 shoots that I did for them were with 2 huge names. And then it was like I worked with pretty well-known girls for, I think, every single one of my shoots for that, except for this last one was another newer girl, but she's still well-known. And she's a redhead, so we had fun. And so like, and it's one of those that just, I don't know, was kind of crazy. And it was cool because I got to work with Lauren again last year in a scene that's actually had a nomination this year for X of A's. And so that was really cool to like, after a couple of years, kind of come back around to that and be like, I'm getting to work with her again in another scene. And it was super cool to like be able to reconnect with that.
You didn't get put on her no list. That's a nice thing, you know?
Right.
There you go.
As a new person, I was new to everything, new to the girl scene. I was like new to the industry still. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to follow. I'm going to let you lead. Like, please give me direction. Help me out here. I want to learn and like make this scene good. And she was very open to that and like willing to work with me and like kind of explain how it worked and all that. And so it's super cool that my first experience there was with a big name star and like give me that kind of head start jump in, that it wasn't just somebody else. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing either. We're gonna wing it.
I wanna weave back and forth between your camming and the mainstream content. So going back to the camming, do you have any advice for a new performer that's coming on to one of the cam sites? What can they do during that promo period? What is like the best thing that you've either seen, either it worked for you or maybe it didn't work for you and you go, oh, maybe I should have done this? Is it going hard right off the bat, like big sexy shows to get a lot of followers? Is it teasing right off the bat? Like, what do you think? If I were to come to you as a beautiful younger woman and say, hey, I want to start camming, I know I'm going to get this promo time, what do I do in the first 2 weeks of my show?
So that was actually kind of the thing that, like, I knew what tips would you have was the thing that I actually got quite a bit shortly after I started. I would say the 2 big things would be being on as much as possible during that promo time, especially if it is a site that only has a week-long promo. Being aware of when your promo time starts is also huge because some sites, the second you're approved, your time starts. Other sites, your first stream is when your promo time starts. So you could be approved and then not stream for 2 weeks, and then that's when it starts, not when you were approved 2 weeks before. So being aware of that, and when it does start, making sure you're on either at least as many days of that time as possible, if not as much time as possible, to make the best use of that. As far as shows go, I would say I had a little bit of an advantage because I didn't jump in without knowing what I was kind of getting into. I'd done my research a bit. So I would say if you have a better idea what you're doing, try it. The thing that didn't work for me was that I'm not very good at hiding the fact that I knew some of the secrets as far as like what the people are going to try and do in the room. And so I was prepared for that. So try and kind of play new girl a little better than I did if you have an idea what you're getting into. And don't just like jump into having everything set up. Don't like make it seem like it's an experienced person room that has just rebranded as a new name.
Okay.
Because that can be a negative. But also having starting out kind of small, not doing like big crazy shows at first, not having like expecting super high tip prices, kind of just going and seeing how it feels the first week, just being there mostly, I think is the big thing, and kind of seeing where it goes, what you feel like doing. Don't expect that you have to do things right off the bat. And I feel like a lot of new PMers think that they have to because that's what everybody's asking for.
Sure.
And it's your room, you're in complete control. Ask for something. If it's not for a amount that you're willing to do it for, or if they're just being obnoxious, just put your foot down. It's your room. If you need to kick them out. Tell them no, I'm not interested right now. I'm still trying to figure this out, how this works. And do it at your pace, on your timeline, with your comfort level. Don't get pushed into anything.
Gotcha. What is your room? What is the vibe, the feel of your room right now? Is it a discussion? Are you talking with people? Are you answering questions? Are you playing games? Like, if I head on over, which, by the way, folks, links will be in the episode description, just to remind you who I'm talking to, it's Ellie Murphy. You know exactly where you can find her at Ellie Murphy, Ellie Murphy. Sorry, I apologize for the plug. What is your, I head on over to your room, I click it in the episode description, and you're there, you're live. What type of vibe are you putting out or experience?
Pretty much the same as it has always been. Depending on what site I'm on, if I'm on a site where I have apps where I can run games, I will run games or have my mods run the games and the goals. Sometimes I don't run goals, I'll just run games because I do take privates now, and I didn't previously. The other site it's a premium site, so it's all privates or like group shows. You can tip for certain things in like just the chat area. It's always been conversation. If you come in and you just sit and you lurk and you're a registered user, especially if it's a name I recognize, I will call you out and say hi because I want you to come talk. I'm not doing it to be mean. I do it because I want the interaction. If you come in my room and you recognize me, that's probably like still, I get that like super giddy, stupid new girl like excitement over it when people come into my camera room and are like, oh my gosh, I know you from this site. I absolutely love your work. And especially if it's one of the ones that I've like shot a bunch for. And like, I still get really excited when people do that because it doesn't happen all the time. But when it does, if they're just like, oh my gosh, I love your work, I'm like, okay, well, what do you know me from? Like, do you just know me from like the clips on like the hub and whatnot? Or like, do you actually know me from a site? And so I'm always curious where they know me from. Do they know me from this or that? Or is it somebody who's come over from a different site? And so if you come in my room and you know me, absolutely feel free to say, hey, I love your work, or I know you from this, or I got your link from this. And let me know, because I love to find out where people have heard about me. And that I very much appreciate my fans. I've always had a deep love for the appreciation you guys have for us and the support. It means a whole lot more to us, I think, than a lot of people realize. And getting to have that connection in my room is always super fun. I understand not everybody has money to spend. So I'm totally willing to have people come in, chat, hang out. Feel free. Just don't demand. Sure. And just if I get pulled into shows, I will come back, usually, unless there's an issue with something or I'm gone forever. But I come back, I hang out. People come back in the room. We start chatting again, having fun. It's super chill, down to earth. And everyone says, I love how real you are, how down to earth you are, and just how like chill your room is. That's what I get the most, because that I am still the all-American girl next door vibes across everything. That's never going to change. I may have a few crazy brain days where we're kind of squirreling all over the place, but we've reeled those in a little bit more.
You said something there that was exciting. It's that half a second I get of excitement when you go on a campsite and you see a name you have seen before, or a face, and you're like, that's a porn. That's not just some pretty girl from Portland who's camming over there. That is a name. So I can't imagine the excitement of anyone who really... No, I can't imagine it. I just explained why I can imagine it. I'm stupid. But I can imagine that excitement of like, oh my God, it's Ellie Murphy. I've watched her scenes before. I've done whatever, and jumping in. But then it's nice to hear that you keep them engaged, because you are becoming a big enough name where you could probably sit there topless on your phone and still collect some tips if you wanted to. But that's not you. You, like you said, you appreciate the fans, you appreciate the community. And I think that's awesome to see from the outside. I think it's very, very cool. And I can very much respect and appreciate that.
And when titties come out, keyboards get lost. That is a thing.
That's a fair point. All right. I have a couple about some shoots you did, a couple questions and a couple interest in it. Up to the point I'm about to reference, you mostly shot. I don't mean this in a negative way at all, because it's relative to what I'm going to point out. But you mostly shot like tame content, boy girl or girl boy, anything like that. What got in your head when you decided you wanted to shoot with the Asiani sites, the Gangbang, Cream Pie, Glory Hole Secrets, and Cream Piled, I believe, all appropriately named, by the way. What was that like? Rent is due, or were you like, I need to expand my horizons and try something new?
None of the above, actually.
Okay.
When the opportunity was presented to me first, I was, not gonna lie, slightly terrified, because my first shoot for Gangbang Cream Pie was my third shoot in the industry. That was the third shoot my agency presented to me.
That's
so
crazy.
Part of me was like, oh my God, if I don't do this, are they not going to get me work? Like, are they trying to see if, like, how serious I am? And at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I can actually go do this, because that's a lot of things to pay attention to.
Sure.
And I'd only ever been with like one person at a time before that shoot. So like, it was a lot. But thankfully, if it had been another site, I don't know if I would have accepted the shoot, simply because I know the way that they shoot things is much more relaxed, and it's all centered on the girl having a good time. And so that's what the guys are most focused on. And so that was a comfort knowing that ahead of time. And their talent liaison is a phenomenal person, and she's a lifesaver. I learned so many things from her during that first shoot, like tips and tricks that I've used since then. And I've asked her, she's like, if you have any questions, just ask, because like she was surprised that it was my third shoot and I was still trying to figure out what I'm doing with paperwork and what I'm doing with wardrobe and what I need to do for this, that, or the other. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've not really done this for very long. And so explaining everything to me was super helpful. And like, it was definitely one of those, okay, we're jumping in the deep end here, but it's going to be okay.
So
I'd met a few of the people before, so I knew I was okay.
If we were doing a body count prior, just industry-wise body count, so you went 1 and then 2 up to what, 7? Something like that after your third shoot?
So it would have been 1, 2, 5.
No, I
think there's 4 the first 4.
Was there 4? Okay. All right. So
there was either 4
6.
or 5. I can't remember. There might have been 5 the first time.
I mean,
one shoot had 4 guys, one shoot was 5 guys, and I don't remember which was which right now.
I heard that wrong for a second. I thought you were saying once you've had 4 guys, you have 5 guys, nothing really changes. Does anything change when you go from 4 guys to 5 guys?
Yeah, one person gets left out.
Okay.
You only have 2 hands, and I mean, you've only got 4 places to put, well, unless you do anal, you've only got 4 places to put things. So somebody's got to be kind of standing on the sidelines if there's 5, because you can only rotate so much. But
I actually go ahead.
Not a lot.
I've asked that question before, and the answer I've gotten, how many people make a gangbang, and you've done it now, so you would officially say 4. What qualifies male performers? I apologize. What would you say per female? How many guys to qualify as a gangbang?
I would say 3 could count too.
Okay.
Because I mean, I guess it depends on whether you qualify anything over 1 as like ganging up, but I feel like 2 is still considered, like threesome's its own thing.
Sure.
So once it's like 3-on-1 or more, I would say that would qualify, at least in some form.
See, 3
definitely 4 and up. You're very much on your own tag teamed, and you're kind of a lot to figure out on your own.
Totally fair. How do you decompress from a scene like that? Like, what do you do? Do you just have to like sit on a bag of peas, or like, like how do you, frozen peas, obviously not cooked ones. You may cook them. I don't know. But, how do you come down from a scene like that? Or are you jacked at the end of it? Are you excited and like, ready to go for more?
I mean, I feel like a warm bath would be a little more decompressing than a bag of frozen peas, but depends on the scene. I was very much just like, I need to sit down, because I was very much out of breath. My legs were shaking, and I'm just like, I need a moment. But I was also like super pumped because I was excited that I made it through. I did the scene. It's a huge thing. That's what a lot of people, 9 times out of 10 until like recently, now it's like 7 times out of 10. When people come in and say they know me from something or they've seen my work, that's what they've seen my gangbangs.
Sure.
The first one or the second one, that's what they know me from. And I'm kind of surprised I haven't done a lot more IR content because of that.
Okay.
Because I know the color contrast is a huge thing. I have several fans that are really from that side, that fandom area, and like they're always trying to push me to do more. And I actually had one that wants me to shoot for Vixen and Black. Like a lot of people have mentioned that they want me to do, and he actually went and signed up for their website just so that he could recommend me. And I think he may have been the one that actually pushed it over the edge to finally getting the contact that, hey, we want to set up a go-see. And so it's a big deal to have fans that are like, hey, this is what I like, and actually be willing to follow through and be like, hey, company, I want to see you shoot this person. Because you can come to me and say it. I can't do anything about it 90% of the time, guys. I know you don't realize that, but just telling us doesn't do anything. We aren't the ones that are like, we can go to the company and be like, hey, I'd love to shoot for you. But we can't be like, I want to shoot for you with this person for this type of scene. Like, the company has to present that to us. And a lot of fans don't necessarily get that part. And so, like, that was super cool when he's like, hey, I recommended you. And I got an email back, said they got it. So that was, like, super exciting. And so the whole thing, like, it's exciting and super excited after, but also at the same time, my body's like, bleh. It's like, I'm tired. I'm going to sit.
So you may not see yourself as like, 10 years from now, Ellie Murphy, ultimate gangbang girl. You'll just be a girl with a few great gangbang scenes on your resume.
Probably. That's not like my favorite forte.
Okay.
If I had to pick like a category, but I'm not opposed to doing them. I just prefer, I guess it depends on style of the shoot. The like rougher gangbangs are not so much my thing or my interest as like the more, let's all have fun and like we're all enjoying it, and it's more of like a higher energy, just fun interactive atmosphere. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. No, it totally does. I use them as my reference point when I always talk about, there are 3 tiers to me of porn, and it's not about whether or not it's good porn or whatever. It's more about quality. So for me, the top is your biggest name things with your vixens and whatever else with a beautiful, background and fucking whatever, I don't know. I forget what they're
big
called.
Cinematic stuff.
Yeah, beautiful cinematography shots and cinematic stuff. Then you have the bottom tier, which is like you watch a guy fuck his girlfriend and you go, I don't think you have the rights to Metallica and that shouldn't be playing in the background, but I can still enjoy this here. Then you have like the middle tier, and I always use those sites as like the middle tier, your Asiani. And again, it's not that they're not high quality, they're great quality.
Well, they're a lot better than they were.
Sure, yeah, sure. But they don't do the cinematic thing as much. Still beautiful cameras, quality, all of that shit. But I love that we're just getting right into it. We're going to talk to the performer and then we're going to jump right into it. And you're right. Everyone I see on those sites always seems like they're having a good time. There's never a second of like, I'm doing this just because I'm doing this. So yeah, it's good to hear that they're nice behind the scenes as well, because you hear horror stories sometimes. So
yeah, there definitely can be, especially a couple of the sites.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm going to mention go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
With the content quality thing, it's funny though, because like if you look, even just back like in 2020, if you look at the content that a lot of people were putting out, because most of it had to be home shot because of COVID, the quality of content, the creators and otherwise, has like exponentially increased as far as camera quality, because everyone's realizing, either we need to we're going to shoot on cameras, it has to be like the newest camera with the phone with the highest quality camera, or we need to use actual cameras to shoot. And so like just the content quality in that aspect has exponentially increased since like I started. And it's really funny to look back even at some of my stuff back then, and I'm like, no, I didn't quite do that right, but I had a lot of tech issues at the start.
As much as I hate Zoom, I've learned how to use it more because I had so much time doing whatever to make the quality look better, and then I'll upscale it later and this and that. If you go back to some of the original podcasts, it's like one audio feed, and I tried to level it as best as I can, and you're just like, oh fuck, just don't even listen to that. So I get it, and it is a good thing. Is it positive for the industry? You know, we always say how OnlyFans has been so positive for performers. By the way, at Ellie Murphy, in case you're wondering. Is it negative in any way, in the sense that if you can't get your own personal brand stuff going, is it going to limit you? Like, if I was a performer and I'm a good-looking girl, I don't necessarily love the social media thing. I'm not great at it. I try. Could it hurt me if I go, I only want to be an OnlyFans performer? I don't want to get my name out anywhere other than the OnlyFans community. Or do you think it's big enough where that could sustain a career at this point?
There are definitely people who do strictly OnlyFans and make quite a bit from it. If you are trying to do more than just OnlyFans and you are not good at the social media aspect, or you also are not good at the consistency of posting content thing, then it's going to be a struggle, because that's been my biggest thing with all the content stuff, is trying to juggle camming and life and content. I may have content to post, and then like something happens, and then I'm like, I haven't posted for a month. Oops. Like, the consistency for me has been the struggle there. And so like, if that's your sole focus, is like one website, that's where all your work is going, that's where all your energy is going, then yeah, absolutely, it can be a career sustainer if you can get it going, you have the right branding and your right type of content. Absolutely. Sure. If you're trying to put things in too many baskets, it can be a struggle on every platform.
Gotcha. I want to do a thing on here that I call stat check. So I use the Internet Adult Film Database, which is totally off and wrong. It's going to give you numbers that don't include this and that and whatever else. But I feel like it's a nice benchmark, so that a year from now when you come on and you're like, so I have all of these AVN awards now and I'm a superstar, we can be like, oh my God, Ellie, remember back in the day when you blah, 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 blah. The amount of scenes you've worked with, according to the Internet Adult Film Database, is 42 scenes. The amount of male performers you've worked with, 18. Female performers you've worked with, 15. No, tell me if I'm wrong on this. No direct nominations for AVN awards, right?
I would say I could check those stats and
and see, one time I was interviewing a female performer, Wendy Rain, and I gave those numbers, and I told her, I go, those numbers are totally wrong. Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. They're wrong. We're just going to use it as a metric. And she goes, I could pull them up right here. And she had her spreadsheet, and she went through each guy she's worked with, each scene. How? Yeah.
Mine's on paper.
You don't have to. I appreciate it very much, but
I was like, actually, I could, because I have my notebook over there that I'd write everything down in. I would say I know that's not entirely accurate, because I know there's scenes that haven't been released.
Gotcha.
So there's I think 6 of those on IFD are all from the same shoot.
Okay.
I think there's like 6 of them from the Gangbang shoots, because there's compilations and things in there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there are a couple repeats, but it's probably pretty close. I know I haven't checked recently to see what the last scene that they had posted was, but that's probably pretty accurate. It's a little bit higher I know female count is higher, and like I said, depending on what their last scene was, male count's probably pretty close.
Sure.
So
I had,
but not too bad. And a lot of us do keep our own stats or records, at least of like what shoots we've done, just for our own fun. I don't have any direct like performer like specific nominations in that aspect, like performer categories, new performer of the year, anything like that.
Sure.
I do have I have a scene that got an XMA nomination.
Okay.
With Lauren Phillips and Sophia Locke and Ryan Key. We got a nomination for an XMA award for that one. And then I have I'm in a nomination for the the all-girl, what was it? It's like older, younger category.
Gotcha.
Best video for girlfriend films. And so that scene that we did got nominated for that category. So I'm still pretty excited though, because it's still my first nominations for both. And so the fact that I missed it so close last year, I was like on one of the girlfriend films when it was the second scene that got nominated and we were the first from that series. So like we were close, and then this year we got one. So it's pretty exciting just to like hit that level of saying, hey, I've been part of something that's been nominated. That, I mean, to me, that's enough. Even if I never get a solo nomination, that's enough for me to be like, hey, I've been a part of this.
Sure.
And there's several companies that I worked really closely with that I'm like, you've been nominated. I feel proud because I've been a part of that too. And so like, it's an exciting thing for me to just see like, hey, my friends have been nominated. I've been part of that thing that's been nominated. And I don't care if I get a specific nomination or not. I know some people that's a huge thing, but I'm like, I've been a part of it. So it counts.
The recognition is nice, right? That work you did, people are recognizing it as a good thing. Like I have a nomination. I have no illusions I'm going to beat Plug Talk or any of the other big name podcasts. But it feels good that I had at least one fan out there who went, hey, this guy, hey, that. So you have people out there who went, yeah, Lauren Phillips is great in this. Ellie Murphy, though, really nailed it. I love this scene, however it went.
Yeah.
Last question, because we're running out of time here, unfortunately. I could talk to you all day, but last question, and this is an odd one, and I just use it as a measuring stick. I make no judgment on it whatsoever. I find it interesting to hear performers who work in the industry and their input on this. What should and the responses have totally surprised me. That's why I ask it now. What is the age that performers should be able to get into the industry?
I agree with what I feel like the consensus is going towards now is kind of what I've always thought is, honestly, I think that the age to join the industry should be 21, partially for the performer's sake, because there are a lot of industry parties and things that happen, and attending those without being able to drink can be a challenge for some people, for not getting themselves in trouble. And also just because when you're fresh out of high school, 99% of people have been living in their parents' house. They've not been out on their own, had to take care of themselves, had a place of their own yet. And that even just a year or two of experience on your own, taking care of yourself, where you have to be able to be an adult, at least somewhat, is, I think, needed before getting into the industry, because there's so much you don't know and so much that you don't realize you don't know at 18, as far as like life and like, oh, hey, I'm going to have bills. I'm going to have things I have to make sure that I'm doing. I have to be able to get myself to scenes. I have to be able to make sure I'm tested. I have to do all this, that, and the other. And so having that couple years to kind of figure out how to be able to adult, how to be yourself and who you really are becoming, I think is extremely important when getting into the industry. Because I've heard from a lot of girls that started at 18. They wish they hadn't started at 18. They had waited.
And that's what I've heard too. And then, but now let me throw the devil's advocate anecdotal. Girl gets kicked out of her house at 16, lives on the streets for a couple years till she gets to 18. She wants to do sex work. She wants to engage in this. That's the thing you'll hear. You'll also hear something like, well, I know, and I've said this, I've met 18-year-olds who are 1,000 times mature than me, or some 40-year-olds I've interviewed. So putting an age on things is tough. We thought a nice consent, because I agree with you, 21, and from performers who started at 18, like you just said, who I've interviewed, they all go 21. What if you just did from 18 to 21, since, and again, I always use this stupid example too, if you can go fight in a war at 18, I don't know why you can't have sex at 18, but I get it. What if
you just can't drink at 18?
Yeah, yeah. That's
or
the
rent
one.
a car.
The parties is a great reference I'd never heard before. No one's ever brought that up. So that really nailed it for me even more. What about from 18 to 21? You can do solo content on your own. OnlyFans or whoever else will allow you to upload only solo content. You can't do any boy-girl stuff. 3 years of learning the industry, learning social media, stuff like that. Then at 21, okay, you're good to go. You can start shooting for major companies or whatever else. You can't shoot for anyone except for yourself from 18 to 21. That's kind of like a compromise we worked on.
We've had discussions of something similar to that, not quite so restricted, but something similar where like the girls that are 18 to 21, or whether you're just coming in, if you're not necessarily have an idea of how to be on your own or doing your own thing, if you are coming in 18 to 21, say, we'll focus on that, having it be where those girls that need a little more guidance will have like, okay, that's where you'll have like a model. You maybe have a model house, or you have an agency specifically focused on those girls and helping them learn how to do things, not focused on anything like exploiting them to do as many shoots as possible. But okay, these are the pitfalls. These are the things you need to know. This is what you need to be aware of and think of before you actually start. Okay, now that we've gone over this whole thing, we've done some solo stuff, maybe do some stuff with some other new models that are coming in. They're all right in the same category. That goes on a pay site only. It doesn't get posted to social media. So if you do decide, okay, maybe this isn't for me, okay, you still have an easy enough out that you haven't. Now because second you do a big studio shoot, you now have porn out there forever and you can't get that taken down. Right. If it's on a pay site you control, you can remove that a lot easier. And kind of giving them that, okay, here's a taste of what it's going to be like. Are you still wanting to do this? Okay, let's go a little bit bigger. And then, okay, now you can really jump in, now that you can attend all the events. You can attend all the events and do all the extra activities. You can be with all the big performers because you know how to handle it now, and it's not going to overwhelm you, because there's a lot of models too who will get a bunch of shoots and then all of a sudden they have all this money and they blow it, and then they can't pay rent because they went and bought a new car and have a $7,000 car payment or something. Like, sure. It's one of those that I think he needs to be focused on more, taking care of the younger models that don't know what they're doing or have guidance outside of like the agency or people representing them, than necessarily an age specific thing other than the events aspect. Gotcha.
You got to go to Porn Star Academy. That's what it sounds like. Learn how to do it.
Similar, yeah. People have tried to make series and things on it, and it's like the real aspect of it isn't not as exciting as you see in the scenes and stuff. It's like you'd be going to school for like a week to learn all the basics you don't want to learn but you have to know for taxes and your W-2, not being W-2, your 1099, and how all that works and what all that means, and the things that really they don't teach us that they should teach us. And how to be aware and like defend, like stand up for yourself if you need to, that you can, because they don't push that either. The fact that you can stand up for yourself if something happens and you don't like, say something, stop it before it happens.
Yeah. Teaching girls boundaries and all kinds of stuff like that. Like, and that your boundaries are acceptable.
Yes.
All right. Ellie Murphy, my guest for the evening. I, again, will say this once again, I have no impact on your career whatsoever, but I am so proud seeing you stay with this and grow and understand the industry. And I am going to recommend people go exactly where you think you should go and check out Ellie Murphy at Ellie Murphy. On social media, I believe it's the Ellie Murphy. I'll plug that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Also on one of the sites. And then my website also will have all of the links to things. Yeah. So
For sure. Ellie Murphy, thank you so much for coming on with me tonight, and congratulations on your blossoming career.
Thank you for having me back.